Trump never wanted to go serve his country. Someone who has decided that he is going to align himself with a dictating thug. I don't know if they're afraid. I just think they're wusses.
Let's watch Democratic star Jasmine Crockett laying down the law on NBC on everything from Trump to Russia. So be sure to like this video. It helps us out a ton. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you, and we'll jump right into it.
Maybe this is because Trump never wanted to go serve his country, and right now the only service that he's giving to us is driving our country apart. But I'm sorry, when you're at war, you're not worried about your outfit. That is what we call a privilege, number one. Number two, to say, oh, what can you afford? Well, if he was walking around in the fanciest suits, I'm sure that they would accuse him of taking our dollars and spending it on his wardrobe and being more concerned about that. Listen, this is a no-win situation when you're walking in with someone who has decided that he is going to align himself with a dictating thug.
Dictating thug who invaded your sovereign democracy nonetheless, but she is spot on all throughout here. It's first world privilege. Rich guy privilege to see someone whose main concern is their country that is being torn apart, his people who are being slaughtered, and ask him about his outfit, where undoubtedly had he came dressed to the nine, the talking point would have been about that and where our money is going to, and if he's in war, why can he afford to dress so nice? And it's just anything hostile. With the revelation of Russian state media being present in the White House for the argument, and how clearly antagonistic Vance especially and Trump in the minimizing way he talked about Zelensky were, I think it's clear to anyone that the entire thing was a setup. The Republican Party has been successfully infiltrated by Russia all throughout, and they wanted to create a hostile environment to where they can use anything they could to distance themselves from Zelensky. And in these conditions, I think Zelensky handled it about as well as anyone could have.
We decided that we wanted to subpoena him to come in, him being Elon. You know who didn't even want to debate it? The Republicans. Not only did they shut it down, but they wouldn't allow us to engage in debate because they really don't have an explanation for why we would have an entire subcommittee that is supposed to sit atop this organization or whatever it is, because it's not really an organization, and they don't want to bring in the guy that is the face of it.
Can I ask you, is it also a little bit because they're afraid to go up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know if they're afraid. I just think they're wusses. I mean, you know, I don't really know what it is, but right now, one of the things that the former governor just said, he talked about people basically giving up their rights and giving up their duties. I've said that they've castrated their constitutional duties. You've got Republicans that will only move, or as we used to say, jump whenever Donald Trump says jump or Elon says jump, and it's usually how high.
Yeah, and it's crazy because our government was set up to give more power to the people than to the president, and it seems like MAGA just is willing to hand that over. But every 2 years, we can elect representatives who then go to Congress and have the power to write the legislation, control the budget that reflects the will of their constituents for fear of the next 2 years. They can get cycled, well, not like them specifically, but their party could lose power. They're going to be up in what, like 4 to 6, and work together to get these things sent to the president, who then has a sort of final say, but of course Congress can still pass things into law even if he vetoes it. So it's not supreme authority at the president level, the level of the presidency, but this gives him pressure also optically as to not reject the will of the people and veto good legislation. But now Republicans in Congress don't operate that way. They only write legislation off Trump wants. So if it's something that the people want but Trump doesn't, it's not even going to make it to his office to make him have to go against the people. And then where Congress could utilize their powers and vote it into law even without the presidency. But it's awful. They won't even do it because of fear of Trump or Elon funding a primary opponent to beat them. So instead now the government is like a business with a boss at the top, which is about as anti-democratic as you can get. I mean, just think about it. How much power does your voice have at work? How much of a democracy is it there?
They're issuing reports to us and they're saying, hey, these are the things that we really need to root out as you are going through the budget process. We have none of that. We have no information about who is exactly sending these emails because we know that they told the courts, oh, Elon isn't running DOGE. Then they told us that a woman that was on vacation in Mexico was running DOGE. Like, you talk about transparency, there is literally a lack of transparency.
It is quite literally the opposite of transparent. It's been ambiguous every step of the way until it couldn't any longer. Elon was legitimately threatening people with doing illegal crimes and like prosecuting them and stuff for releasing the first list of names of the DOGE employees when we knew like 4 or 5 of them, and like the one who was saying like racist Nazi stuff online. And we're literally just now, almost 2 months into the presidency, learning of almost 50 employees for DOGE. Whereas she mentioned, it was clearly put forth that Elon was heading this thing. He was always with Trump because he's the DOGE guy, and that's the reason he can have all this, sensitive intel with President Trump, and posting things on X like he was heading it, like he's the one cutting things. But when a conflict of interest arose, all of a sudden it's not Elon heading it, it's this woman, so we don't have to worry about it. But then it comes to find out the woman is vacationing in Mexico, so it's like, what could she have even been doing? But it's all so clearly lies. And then what they're saying is lies too. So why would we trust it after all of that, right? They've had to correct multiple statements, always doing so quietly and not with the publicity of the announcements, of course, because they don't want anyone to know. Correcting billions down to millions in many instances, even correcting 250 million to 500,000. So this is just propaganda, misinformation, not efficient, and definitely not transparent. I mean, great job, MAGA. You fell for it again.